Hi, I'm Matt West. Welcome to another edition of Roundtable. Joining us is Steve Davis, my co-host and attorney.
Matt, welcome back. It's great to have you here for another show.
Another show. I, of course, am with the radio station KJFF, 1400 AM out of Festus. And we have a guest. Do you want to introduce her, Steve?
Yes, with us today, Matt, we have Patty Sohn. Patty is a remarkable woman with all of this knowledge and expertise to bring.
Setting you up. She's setting you up.
About one of the current situations here in America, the state of Missouri and Jefferson County, which is healthcare. Patty is a licensed nurse practitioner, and she is the founder of the InstaClinic healthcare system, company, corporation.
Well, let's go right there. What is InstaClinic?
InstaClinic is a retail health clinic. We are situated inside the Schnuck store right next to the pharmacy. We have one clinic in the Butler Health store and one over in Alton, Illinois. And what a retail health clinic is we're staffed by nurse practitioners, open 7 days a week, and we treat what we call minor episodic illnesses, provide wellness counseling, prevention type tests, and immunizations and sports physicals. That's
a lot. Mm-hmm. Now, the nurse practitioner, just so we're clear, you can write a prescription.
We can write a prescription, although in Missouri, nurse practitioners are restricted somewhat from what we can write as opposed to other states.
And I guess we'll jump in, because that was going to be one of the topics we were to discuss today with healthcare, is the actual field of nurse practitioner. Give us a breakdown, Patty, of what is a nurse practitioner and what are the limitations that you have under Missouri law in the state of Missouri, and how you're treated differently here than you say maybe more progressive states.
Sure. A nurse practitioner is a registered nurse. Usually a nurse practitioner, before they can even begin their master's training, they have had to have worked as a registered nurse for about 5 years, so they have experience behind their belt. All nurse practitioners are educated at the graduate level, so we have master's degree. The American Nurses Association has come out and stated that by 2015, all nurse practitioners will be educated at the doctoral level.
Really?
So our level of education will approach that of a family practice physician. In Missouri, nurse practitioners are restricted as to what we can do. We have a legal scope of practice, but there are barriers to us practicing fully within our scope of practice. For example, we talked about prescription. Missouri is the last of 3 states in the nation that continue to restrict our ability to prescribe controlled substances. A controlled substance is something that people need for a sedative to sleep, something for pain. For a while there, we could not even prescribe decongestants. But we're working on that right now.
That just seems ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. It is ridiculous. I could prescribe to you the most potent anticoagulant, the most potent heart medication, but I cannot give you a Robitussin with codeine to keep you from coughing.
Now, I mean, I've always said Missouri is about 10 years behind the times, but to be number 47 in this nation,
it's pretty sad.
What's I mean, in Missouri, everything's political. So what's the political barrier? Why has Missouri?
Is there like a doctor's lobby out there saying, no, they're going to take
we don't like you. You're not one of us.
Actually, you know, while there are many physicians, local physicians that totally support us, you know, more and more physicians are employing nurse practitioners to help them cover the load of taking care of patients. Organized medicine in Missouri, at least up until last year, has opposed nurse practitioners from prescribing controlled substances. There have been claims that we are unsafe or uneducated, when in fact every single research study that has been done has demonstrated that nurse practitioners prescribing is equivalent to that of a physician, as well as our care.
Well, you got a lobby, you got an organization, so you're going to Jeff City. Well, there's got to be a political barrier. I mean, we are 47th in the nation for a reason, because somebody is going to Jeff City and saying no. So we'll put you on the spot.
Who's saying no?
Who's the somebody, and why do they want to keep a nurse practitioner basically as a second-class citizen?
And just moreover, it would seem to me that any state representative who got something like this passed or spearheaded this would be a hero among nurses.
They would be. There are approximately 88,000 nurses across the state and about 3,500 nurse practitioners across the state. And so they would get a lot of support. This past November, I am also the political action chair for the St. Louis Nurses in Advanced Practice, and we organized a healthcare access information seminar held at the DePere Center here in St. Louis County. And attending were approximately 20 to 30 legislators, about 12 physicians, and most of the physicians were some of our speakers who spoke out in support of nurse practitioners and controlled access, and about 175 nurse practitioners attended the seminar as well. And some of the legislators stood up and talked about how, last year it came very close to passing in the Senate. It was the House of Representatives that kind of sat on it. This year so far we have 59 co-sponsors of House Bill 1620, which is the controlled substance bill for nurse practitioners.
Well, I know when my son gets sick, we call our pediatrician up, and often they're like, well, we're booked, but if you'd like to see our nurse practitioner,
right,
we can get you in, and we'll have the appointment today. And I'm thinking, well, we're here and we're in basically a metropolitan area. I'm thinking rural Missouri, there can't be that many doctors out there, or why aren't we staffing rural Missouri with nurse practitioners?
And I've had the same situation here locally where my son's pediatrician booked, finally get somebody on the phone, describe the symptoms, and they said, just to be cautious, why don't you go on head over to the emergency room? I'll call them, let you know that. Well, that's got to be incredibly expensive as well.
Plus the wait.
Yeah.
And speaking of the emergency room, we only go, people like Matt and myself, only go to emergency rooms because our insurance company pays for it. How are you treated, are your services treated by the insurance carrier? Because you're with the Instaclinic. Now, you don't have a doctor on staff
No,
there.
we do not
So
have a
we
doctor.
go to you because I'm doing my shopping and my throat hurts, so I can get my cough syrup and my visit. Insurance companies recognize your clinics, your nurse practitioners, as a primary care provider?
Well, they recognize us as a provider, now we're not the primary care.
Well,
everybody needs a doctor. Everybody needs a primary care provider as a medical home, but they recognize us. If you would come to our clinic to be treated for a sinus infection, you would just present your insurance card. You would pay the same copay that you would pay if you went to your regular provider's office, and then we would bill the insurance company for the difference.
And we can talk about Jefferson County here, since Instaclinic has yet to come down to Jefferson County.
We're close.
But I guess my question to you is, do I call my son's got a sore throat, and that's what his symptom. He's got a sore throat, he's coughing, his stomach hurts. Do I call my pediatrician and go through all that, or do I just go in, since I'm too lazy to travel to Schnucks up there in St. Louis County, do I go to my Walgreens or whatever that has their own clinic? I think Walmart's are even starting.
Well, and the question is, tell us how you picture your business in the whole healthcare scheme of things. Because it used to be there was a hospital, and it was a big building, and everybody was there on campus, and you had to make the appointment and everything else. And they also had a little emergency room around the side. And now it's like the whole healthcare organization is flattening out. So how do you view your role as far as healthcare is concerned?
We are a gatekeeper. The reason that the retail health clinic is taking off is actually several reasons. One, it's convenient. People do not have to try to schedule up an appointment with their primary care provider for something simple like a sinus infection or a bladder infection. Or their child's ill and the parent has to call in sick and wait until 9 o'clock, try to get through the phone lines and get the child in at 11 o'clock. They can come into the clinic, be seen as late as 8 o'clock the prior evening if the child's sick at that time. And then what was your second question?
Well, is this kind of like, do you see the healthcare industry continuing to flatten out and making it more convenient for the consumers itself? Do you see this as part of an ongoing trend, or do you think everything's going to kind of eventually go back to the big building where everybody has to go to the hospital?
Well, hopefully it will not go backwards. I mean, there's really truly a healthcare crisis here in our country and in our town, and I do not believe that the retail health clinic concept is going to go away. It's been around for about 8 years now. It originally started in Minnesota, founded by a primary care physician and a business person, with the whole purpose of providing convenient, inexpensive health care. For example, the people that we see in our clinic, we don't see people that are ill. I believe about 7% of the patients that show up in our clinic are patients that we cannot treat because it's not the right facility. They need to go to an urgent care, to an ER, or to their primary care physician if they can get in to the physician.
And you'll send them on if that's the case.
We send them on. Many patients that we see, I would say about 80% of our patients do have health insurance, But many of the patients we see do not have a primary care provider because they're healthy people, and healthy people do not believe they need a primary care provider. So they don't have anybody to go to. And so
Or
we
they're
are
just-
actually...
I guess I'm the epitome of fitness here because I don't have that primary.
So we are actually, we're helping to feed patients into the healthcare system.
That's what you mean by gatekeeper.
Now we're going to, segue into the second. You talked about healthcare crisis in this country. Being the political guru that I am, we're in a presidential race now. We got our campaigns going on in the primaries. It seems to me that only one side of the political spectrum is talking about healthcare reform. What do we need by healthcare reform? What's the problem we're having in this country?
There's a lot of problems with healthcare, and you could go in many, many different tangents.
Well, we got about 15 minutes.
I
20
asked
left
that
of this show.
same, this is a side note, I asked that same question to the interim CEO of Jefferson Memorial Hospital, and he looked at me and said, I actually have a presentation. It takes about an hour and a half. So there's, just like you said, there's a lot of problems in different areas you can look at. Because it was like, is it all the mean pharmaceutical companies? Is it the insurance companies? Is it the HMO? And he goes, I really can't cover it in a couple minutes, but give us.
There really is. There's a big problem. Take the insurance industry for one. The average cost for a family of four for health insurance is about $12,000 to $13,000 a year right now, which is quite a bit of money. And many people cannot afford it. There is more and more people that are getting bumped off health insurance, and it's not indigent people, it's working people, many times two parents working in a home, and they cannot afford the health insurance premium.
But how much of that is our fault, consumer fault? I go to the doctor and I'm saying, doctor, I've had a headache now, it's twice this week. I want the CAT scan. My insurance will cover it. When I really know it's the pollen outside and the change in the season. Are we as consumers demanding our doctors and medical providers give us all of this unnecessary treatment because they want to make certain we don't have that rare disease?
I would point more to lawyers who are so sue happy that she has to spend all her time documenting everything you said, everything she gave you, everything.
And we've got a lot of the problems, but the greatest thing about being a lawyer and a personal medical malpractice attorney is we could not even have a practice if it wasn't for the wonderful care of the primary physician himself. Most people don't realize before you can file a medical malpractice lawsuit, another doctor has to state that doctor made a mistake and that doctor committed malpractice, or we can't proceed. So at least when you jump on us injury attorneys, but my problem is
So are we requesting too much health care? Are we watching these ads for pharmaceuticals and saying, yeah, I want to try that?
Rotary, and Matt's a member of Rotary.
It's everything you said. It's the lawyers. It's the insurance companies. It's us as, we have responsibility as a healthcare consumer to help control the health insurance costs, because what happens is the more tests that you insist on, your provider, talk about attorneys, your provider has to first of all differentiate to decide, well, does this patient really need this test or do they not? But even if I as a provider would want to order an MRI, I still have to go through the insurance company to say, yeah, we'll pay for it. Because many times, even though I want to order something, the insurance company says, sorry, we're not paying for this test.
But I don't know.
Well, and here's a situation.
I usually go to get the MRI, then they tell me it's no, and then I get stuck with this big bill.
Here's a situation in my company. They have health insurance, and you can buy it. But for some of the young, healthy guys who are like, 23, it's cheaper for them to go out and buy their own policy, just because they're at the cheap end of the scale, as opposed to some of us who are older, where health insurance and the costs we incur are going to be more expensive. And what I'm...
You mean your employer, Matt, doesn't provide you with company-paid health benefits?
No, I'm shocked.
I know at Davis and Applebaum, our office provides our employees with full health care
we
coverage.
we contribute to it, but I'm just saying, even there contribute, if you're 23, you can get health insurance pretty cheap, I guess is what I'm saying.
You take that big deductible, too. As
Actually,
a 23, I'm not going to get sick. Why pay a premium?
I believe that the figure I read is about 20% of the population is responsible for the unhealthy living habits and the unhealthful conditions of about 20% of the population. That is the main driver of the health insurance premiums. And also remember that patients that come into ERs that have been bumped off health insurance or bumped off Medicaid in the state of Missouri, and they go to the emergency rooms for care, and the hospitals are not compensated for this care, it just causes a big domino effect on everybody.
There's also some regional healthcare clinics. I'm not sure how familiar you are with those that through the governor's more recent push has...
Mea culpa.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't.
If I threw these people out, I've injured the poor
But
children.
there's one in like DeSoto.
I'm going to give them some benefits.
Where and Great Minds Health Center is one of them where people can go with who are they can go if they have insurance, but even if they're underinsured or uninsured.
No, the federally qualified healthcare centers you're probably referring to.
Yes.
There are some of those across the state.
And because I foresee kind of a split in healthcare, where you're going to have the rich people who can get whatever care they want. In fact, if your appointment's at 3 o'clock, the doctor will actually see you at 3 o'clock, and then you're going to have everybody else going to these clinics. You know,
what's also scary is happening is the whole with Medicare. Beginning in January of this year, providers received letters from the government saying that reimbursement for Medicare patients is cut by 10%. So we are now receiving letters from specialists and primary care physicians that we will no longer take Medicare patients, which is pretty sad because Medicare patients are our elderly and people that have worked all their lives and contributed to the Medicare system. And now the government is decreasing reimbursement to the providers, and so providers are getting to the point where they can't afford to take care of these patients. And then remember too, the Medicare population, they're elderly, they have many what they call comorbid conditions, meaning they have diabetes and heart problems or high blood pressure. And so, you're at risk for more complications if you treat them and more risk for legal liability if something happens.
So what's the solution?
she's saying we're living too long. That's what I'm getting. Is so it's a population age. A greater percentage is going to be spent on the elderly population, right?
Well, here's, I guess, we can jump this question here. There is a simple answer. So what's your position? We put you on the spot here. Socialized medicine.
No. All right, go ahead.
Well, that won't hurt.
I don't know what the answer is, to tell you the truth. It's not socialized medicine. It's not our current system, though, at all. It's definitely failed. The Americans, even though our health system costs more than any other industrialized nation across the world, we lack. We are like ranked 4, 5, 6, 12 as far as healthcare, how healthy we are in the United States.
It's all those Fritos that matter.
I can't resist them. The sodas we drink and everything like that.
And then too, we as healthcare consumers, we have, we're responsible for our own health.
I just can't imagine the situation where, you need an MRI. Okay, that'll be 6 months. I can't imagine those kind of situations, which happen in England and some of these other places where the government runs healthcare. And that's kind of scary to me, too.
That's actually kind of happening here, though, because if we, as a provider, want to order something for our patients and the health insurance company tells us no, and then we have to get on a phone. We have to do something like what they call a peer-to-peer review, meaning that our physician, I as a nurse practitioner, have to speak with someone to the insurance company to say this patient cannot go home from the hospital. They are not safe to go home. They cannot get around by themselves, or they're not healthy enough to go home. Their medical condition is not stabilized enough. And the insurance company says, send them home.
I got same topic, send them home. Go back 50, 60, 70 years ago, woman had a baby. The whole family moved into the hospital. We were there a week or 2 or 3, whatever. Now the insurance company says you get a day and a half and you're home, Mom. Is that the medical field talking, or is that the...
I think that was spearheaded, I believe, by the insurance company.
Because my question is, the other thing is, ever hear the term not-for-profit? They don't exist anymore. The hospitals are all for-profit corporations. And I'm not saying that's bad, that they're in business, but if you're in business to make money, and an insurance company is not in business to provide insurance, they're in business to make money providing insurance, is the incentive to cut costs, cut services, and maximize profits.
Now, I don't know if that's from the hospital perspective. In my experience, I have staff privileges at several hospitals in South County, and it's more the nurses on the floor, the social workers, the nurse practitioners, and the physicians are trying to keep a patient in the hospital if they believe it's necessary. And they're fighting with insurance companies to get another day or another day and a half, or get them approved to go to a rehab floor for ongoing medical management, rehabilitation
Well,
therapy.
the nurses might, and I'm of course a big fan of the nurses because they're actually there. But nurses don't call the shots. It's the administrators in the ivory tower next to the hospital with the insurance companies that are making your
Yeah, but
giving you those
I don't
roles.
believe any administration, the hospital administrators get involved in the patient care as far as what tests can be ordered or how
Yeah.
long they stay in the hospital. That's a medical decision. But what happens is the insurance company will come back and say, well, you can keep them there, but we're not paying the bill. And so then it's stuck on the patient.
It's hard, and I don't have a solution to it myself, but I know that, and several people in the medical field do, and a lot of people have studied this for a long, long time. But you mentioned politics. I don't know of any presidential candidate who's really talking about reforming it. They say, socialized medicine or government run or that kind of stuff, and they kind of throw it out there. But I've never seen even a small example of how that has worked
we
well.
ran Hillary out back in 72, 82 or whatever, 92.
Hillary care.
When she was trying the Hillary care. But speaking of care, do we have a shortage in this country of doctors, of nurses?
We have a big shortage, and it's the physician shortage is going to get a lot worse as more and more physicians retire. But there's a shortage of both nurses and physicians across the nation.
Now, a question, since you work with physicians, there are a lot of physicians I'm seeing in some of the hospitals or clinics that are foreign educated, foreign trained doctors that are over here.
That's correct.
Here's the question, Patty, you're on the air now.
I don't know if I can answer this, but go ahead.
Are they as trained and as skilled as the American trained medical universities?
I can't testify to their medical background because I don't. I'm
you
not
work
a
with
We're
physician,
not
but
testifying. We're just kind of offering
I
opinions
cannot.
here.
I cannot say that. if a
Americans are some of the most prejudicial country, even those that claim not to be prejudiced. We sit there and say, well, I want my doctor to speak English. I want my teacher at my university to speak English. I don't care if they're this gifted mathematical genius. I want them to be able to communicate. Are we having I've heard this in universities, that some of these math and science classes, the professors may be brilliant, but we're having communication problems. I'm in the back row, I can't understand.
because of language barriers.
Are we having that problem in the medical field between, say, the nurses and doctors? I mean, there was a great 60-minute episode one time of this doctor who was working as a nurse because he couldn't get the certification as a doctor into this country.
I'm sure that our medical system in the United States verifies the credentials and the education of a physician before they allow them to practice. As far as language barriers, there are some. There are some, when I'm in a room with a patient and a physician comes in and it's a foreign-born physician that has not mastered the English language, and the physician leaves the room and the patient said, what did they just say? But I can't say that happens very frequently.
There is a bill that has been filed this year, and it adds or forces health care providers to add infertility treatments to health insurance. Anytime somebody writes a bill that wants to add something to health insurance, doesn't that make the cost go up?
It can. Yes, it can.
And I'm not pro it or against it. I'm just saying, because it sounds like a good thing but then you have to think, well, what does that cost everybody, right?
I mean, there was a couple years ago, there was a bill, or the insurance companies were requiring women that had mastectomies for breast cancer to be discharged from the hospital the same day, like for outpatient surgery. And there was a lot of ruckus about that. The medical organizations and the nursing organizations and many legislators got together because not only is it traumatic surgery, but the whole psychological component of dealing with breast cancer. So. I mean, there's a lot of issues. It goes deep, and you can point the finger in many different directions.
But again, your system of setting up in a Schnucks or someplace like that, offering people, you don't have to make an appointment well in advance. You can just come by.
Walk in.
And if you have a basic ailment, chances are you can treat them.
Yes.
That seems to be working.
It is working.
For that level of care.
It's the latest article I read out of, I believe it was called Finance Times, that said that there's approximately 1,000 retail health clinics across the nation right now. And by 2012, it's predicted there will be over 6,000 of them.
And we're looking for capital and investors here to expand InstaClinic.
Just give Patty a call.
Yeah.
When you take a break, we'll be back with more. You're listening to The Roundtable right here on JCTV.
exceptional education.
Spectacular experience.
The personalization.
It was convenient.
It's a fun atmosphere.
And my personal experience here has just been wonderful.
It just opened up a whole new horizon for our family.
Arnold, High Ridge, and the Hillsborough campus has been very convenient.
I recommend Jefferson College every day to anyone who will ask.
I'm Russ Hilton.
I'm Jean.
I'm Brandon Berger.
I'm Liz Lando, and I'm proud I chose to attend Jefferson College.
You may not know their names, but the students who are helped through a Jefferson College Foundation scholarship carry thanks in their hearts. It's for the kindness that our contributors have shown. Make a difference in their tomorrows.
Education, the great equalizer. It doesn't just mean you get more knowledge, it means you improve your quality of life.
Give to the Jefferson College Foundation today.
Welcome back to the Roundtable. I'm Matt West of KJFF, 1400 AM in Festus. Steve Davis, attorney at law. Davis and Applebaum is alongside.
Well, actually, it's Davis, Applebaum, and Mays now.
Mays.
Yes,
I haven't met Mays.
Yes, we had another attorney in our office who's been there for years and years, and he decided, well, we couldn't afford to pay him any more money, so at least we'll put his name on the letterhead.
Oh, is that the way? Every document that goes out now has his name on it.
Yes.
That's got to be worth something.
Well, it was to the printer. So we waited until our stationery was running low and we had to place the reorder anyway, and that's when his association got added.
Oh, that's fantastic. Patty Sohn is also here, and she is a nurse practitioner. Also has a business we've been talking about. Instacare, is that the name of it?
InstaClinic.
InstaClinic. She has a couple of those. Could be expanding. You know, it depends. But right now has kind of a profitable model that we've been talking about, which I think is fantastic. And people can go into Schnucks and, you know,
And
get an antibiotic or whatever
we always
after
talk
being diagnosed.
when you talk about Patty, of course, Patty, her clinic is on the other side of the river. She's on the north. And it's funny because sometimes it takes one of those St. Louis County interlopers to actually discover some of the fine jewels that we've got hidden here in Jefferson County.
And we have a few of them.
And we do, but one we want to mention, which Patty's involved on, there is in Kimmswick, which is surprisingly, because I don't think very few people even know about it, is an equestrian therapeutic riding facility
Correct.
for mentally challenged autistic children called Ride On St. Louis, which Patty is affiliated and supports. In fact, got my daughter involved where she was able to volunteer last summer down there, and it's a tremendous program, and you didn't even realize it's here in Jefferson.
Well,
County.
explain
Right,
that.
it's in Kimmswick. It's run by Marita Wassman. It's a nonprofit organization, and the whole purpose is to help, you know, children like those that have autism. It's actually on the grounds of the where I believe it was Anheuser-Busch, Mrs. Bush lived.
Right.
And they're using that property now as a equine therapy place.
And people who qualify or people who are in that situation learn of this program and they can sign up for it.
Well, they sign up for it. I believe there is a wait because they're searching for funds. They are a nonprofit and they go on grant money and donations, and so. But it's a wonderful program. Sometimes I believe there can be as much as a 2-year wait though for the kids to
Is
get
that
in.
right?
Yes.
And equestrian therapy it is such a beneficial to these children individually, and I see it throughout the country. It's a niche program and for physical therapy, physical treatment, just the mental treatment to actually, you know, bond with an animal, to ride and take care of. It's a tremendous program, and again, it was here in Kimmswick. And probably if you went to half the people in town, they wouldn't even know that it was back there. On
All
the
50 of them wouldn't.
yeah, on the Anheuser property.
It's really a special program, and the way Marita explained it to me, it's children that even have problems supporting themselves,
Right.
you know, sitting upright. Something with the balance and the movement of the horse. As it moves back and forth, it helps the children to be able to sit alone without support.
And they're guiding it. And they have mobility there that they don't normally have.
Right, and well, I mean, there's workers all around them.
Sure.
Marita's there helping them. Many times they have graduate students in, high school students that come in to assist, volunteers, and then their own staff that are there as well. But they do several fundraisers throughout the year, but it's a great program. Unfortunately, they need donations too and grant money to keep it going and to try to get kids in faster than
If
every
somebody wanted
2
to
years.
find out more about that, where would they go? Or
I believe you can just Google. I think it's called rosl.com, but it's right on St. Louis in Jefferson County.
right
in
on
Kim's.
St. Louis.
Just as you go past Windsor High School, just keep going straight, aim towards the river, and stop when you hit this equestrian farm right there.
Right, it's just on the south end of Kimswick, right along the river.
Want to jump topics here a little bit. Kimswick is part of Jeff Rorda's territory. He's a state representative, and a lot of people know him because he used to be a cop in Arnold.
Arnold police officer and a Kimswick police chief / city administrator.
Right. Recently in Arnold, it was kind of controversial, but they had some stormwater issues, and so there had to be some fees for stormwater containment and everything else. And there was a big controversy whether or not to charge churches and other nonprofits their share for this work with stormwater. And the city of Arnold decided to do it.
Good for them.
Now, Jeff Rorda has filed a bill saying it's illegal to do it. And whether that will pass this session, I don't know. But that's kind of an interesting setup, don't you think, since he used to work for the city of Arnold?
Well, he was a police officer for the city of Arnold, so I don't know if we're in the same boat. But the question is, the city of Arnold provides a public service. Why should not-for-profits who use the service have to pay for it? They don't get their electric free. They don't get their water free. They don't get their gas free, but they don't want to have to pay
For stormwater.
the stormwater. And that's really what it is. It's, does the city of Arnold have sewers? Does the city of Arnold need to raise money to put in the sewers? And does the citizens, and of course a not-for-profit who owns real estate is a citizen, but you know the question is do we exempt them?
And that's, I think that takes about half the time of the state legislature as far as who gets exempt from what. Even during the State of the State address, Governor Blunt mentioned an exemption of sales tax for people who buy Energy Star products over certain days, trying to encourage environmentally actions that would be good for everybody. But isn't that like, and the whole tax code, isn't that what's exempt and what's not exempt? And all of these types of different taxes and what qualifies and what doesn't qualify as a nonprofit and all this other?
It is very difficult, and there are a lot of not-for-profits or non-profits, as you want to call them, that are not tax exempt. The tax exempt status actually comes from the federal government, whether you get under the federal tax code, the 501c designation, are you a not-for-profit tax exempt charitable
Which is not a
organization?
designation that's easy to get, by the way.
It's very, very difficult. This the paper. In fact, my office stopped doing the application.
Did you really?
It used to take 2 or 3 submissions before you would get it approved because they'd send it back and say, it looks great, but there was a typo on page 17, redo it. I remember one time we were sending an application in and we were having difficulty getting it. We went to Senator Bond's office, who promoted the program and brought it to the IRS for us. It took his office 2 attempts and almost 6 months to get a tax-exempt status for an Arnold charity.
Wow.
It's a very, very grueling process because, frankly, the government's giving up money. If you become tax-exempt, the sales taxes that you make or the money you own on your property, I mean, think about it. You put a corporate structure together, you're going to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars in real estate taxes. If I call this corporate headquarters, I'm writing government checks. But if I call it corporate headquarters of the Ministry of
Steve Davis, for example.
Church, I'm tax exempt. The cities, the tax entities lose that money. And it's funny too. Fire department, you know what? Your house burns down, they service it, you pay taxes. My church burns down, they service it, but I didn't pay a penny towards that taxing district.
There's a situation right now in the city of Festus where the school district is hoping to pass something where they can build a new high school. They have acquired some land which is outside the city of Festus, and they and their patrons would like this land and potentially this new high school to be within the city of Festus. But the problem is there's no connecting property, so I'm not sure they can do that. And quite frankly, I don't know that the city of Festus, they don't really benefit from having them there. They provide police service, fire service, everything else, but they're not getting any money off the school.
Actually, yeah, the school is in the Festus School District, but it's not in the Festus city limits.
Right.
Right now, Festus doesn't provide police service to that area because it's
Right.
outside the city limits. You put it in the city limits, that school's paying no money,
Right.
but we're going to provide the services. So there's one with the Festus, and the water and the whole area is, right now Jefferson County provides the governmental services to that tract of land.
Right.
Different issue altogether. I don't know why the school district has to be in the city of Festus. Just because they have similar names, City of Festus, Festus.
All right,
R6.
I want to ask you your opinion since you are an attorney. Recently,
Feel free to jump in on this anytime you want, Patty.
Yeah. Recently, Patty sued her. No, I'm just. No.
Her husband, by the way, is an attorney. She forgot to mention that part.
Oh, did she? When we were beating up on attorneys in general?
Yes, she forgot to mention her wonderful outfits, her jewelry, her vacations, her vehicles are all corporate sponsored by the corporate legal establishment.
The Missouri State Supreme Court recently heard a case with the Arnold dentist.
Yes.
And his case, which he won in Jefferson County Circuit Court, which was appealed to the Missouri State Supreme Court, basically said that third-class cities do not have the right to use eminent domain.
Interesting, and I've not read, because this is going back to the Missouri Constitution. This isn't the third-class cities have the right to do it or can it be done. Basically, eminent domain granted to municipalities is a law that legislate the Constitution grants to.
But they're saying it's only for chartered counties and chartered cities, I guess.
That's what they're saying. They're doing an interpretation saying, hey, you know what, guys? They wrote the law down there and they said 1, 2, and 4. They forgot to put in 3. You can't do it.
What's a third-class city?
Like Missouri, just second rate to the rest of the country. No, third-class cities are smaller entities population-wise, and the way your government is set up, whether it's a chartered, like St. Louis County's chartered, St. Louis City's a charter form of government, Jefferson County hopefully might become a charter.
We're a commissioned form of government right now, though. We just have three commissioners as opposed to the city council model with the one administrator and a bunch of elected officials who come in from different parts of the county.
And then the size of the population of your city determines whether you're a first, second, third.
Missouri Municipal League supports Arnold, the city of Arnold.
Right.
And there's others, independent foundations and who are supporting the dentist. But the point is, if the dentist wins, this is going to have a ripple effect across the state.
Oh, absolutely. What they're basically saying is, if the dentist wins and says it's not whether Arnold did it properly, he's arguing, in addition that Arnold didn't do it properly, and he'll lose on that issue, he's arguing you don't have the right, the city does not have the right to eminent domain. You do not have the right to take property. We're building, this entire new, the Arnold
Triangle project with a new Lowe's and Deerbergs and a bunch of restaurants.
Other than the dentist, Arnold was able to, the developing company was able to buy out everybody. But they only bought out everybody because they had the threat of take my check or else, the eminent domain over there. You go to a developer who wants to build his tract of land and he offers you a price and you say, no, I kind of like my house, which is sitting right smack dab in the middle. Well, the developer says, okay, fine. We're going to use eminent domain. We're going to take you to court. We'll set a fair price. You will have to sell. I don't have to sell. I'm telling you, we're going to have a lot of commercial projects held up as hostage.
I understand, and I knew of one situation that took place in Jefferson County where it's an elderly couple and they live in a home, and they don't want to move. It's not about the money or anything like that. But anybody in any other situation, if they're offering you 150% of the value of your home, I'm gone.
Yeah,
please abuse me like that all day long.
And Festus had that problem with the new Walgreens out there. There were a couple homes that didn't want to sell out. Now, eventually they did, but you had the threat of eminent domain. We're going to take it anyway, and this and that. So you hold. But if frankly, if I don't want to sell and now I know you can't take my property, forget 150%. We're going 200%, and I can set my own terms.
Let me just mention, as far as we're talking about the Arnold Triangle project, the biggest winner there was the Arnold VFW. And the reason for it is they had an old post, they may have liked it and everything else, but they dictated to this developer what they wanted as far as a new post. So they got the land, a brand new post, they dictated everything that was going to be inside, the number of kitchens, the number of smoke eaters, the number of rooms, got a brand new, beautiful facility built for them, and it had to be done before they ever ripped down the old post. I mean, it was great.
I can kick you out of your home, but God forbid should I kick a veteran out of his post. That's the worst. That's the worst publicity.
That's not going to happen.
Like, all right, I beat this child, but they weren't an orphanage. They weren't an orphan, so it's okay. And I'm not beating up on orphans here.
It's a whole different deal.
But again, they had the threat.
Right.
Of eminent domain. And you have the situation, which is going to spring up all the time, which is, do we take private business for private business? It's one thing if the government comes in and says, we're going to put a road in here or a school in here. That's legitimate. But the New London, Connecticut Supreme Court case, which ruled that tax dollars is a governmental interest. If I can sell your house and build something bigger and get more tax dollars, that's acceptable.
That was riverfront property.
Yep.
A few homes, weren't bringing a lot of income. They wanted to build, in that particular case, a bunch of high rises.
Yeah, they're going to build, they take out the 50, or in fact it was New London, Connecticut, so it would have been the $250,000 home, structure, and put in the $1 million structure, and the tax dollars go up. And the resident says, well, you know what? I've been here for 200 plus years overlooking the water.
Last year, Missouri tried to define blighted, and they couldn't. And they just eventually gave up.
I was happy
But it's
to
very
see-
difficult if you're like in Brentwood and you have a Steak and Shake and you have some other businesses that are thriving and saying, no, we want to get rid of
That's
those.
like that property that lost. They lost the lawsuit the city of Clayton did down there, right there on Brentwood Boulevard.
Right.
They tried to blight that area, and I'm thinking, I've driven through Clayton. I guess Clayton's definition of blighted is that you're not $1 million property. I'm sorry. How did your home get in this neighborhood? It must have been the caretaker's house.
So before we let Patty go, do you work regular hours at one of your clinics?
No, I oversee the clinics. I also am in clinical practice myself with an orthopedic surgeon with Signature Health Services in South County.
That keeps you busy.
It does. Which goes back to the whole prescriptive authority thing, because I treat acute fractures, new fractures. I have patients come in that have a broken bone. We diagnose them, we treat them, we cast them, but I cannot give them something for pain.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But if I walked across the river, went over to Illinois or any border state, I could. Same education. It's just that Missouri regulations prohibit me from doing that.
So if I lived in Illinois, I could ask you to come over and write me one. but not in Missouri. Let's not do it. As far as fractures are concerned, I just want to verify this with a medical professional, because I heard 12, 14-year-old boys are breaking their bones more frequently now because they're drinking soda.
Actually, that is true. You can, I don't know.
Their bone
I don't know
density
if it's
is
true,
not as strong.
That's true, because the caffeine in the soda, and soda acts as a diuretic. So you excrete the
So you big milk,
calcium.
dairy, cheese fan?
Yes, I am, actually. Especially with females, too. Females with osteoporosis, it's up to your daughters to make sure they get enough calcium as an adolescent, because they store that, and that's the best way to prevent osteoporosis later in life. That and weight-bearing activities.
It's kind of like getting sunburn. When you think of it, when it happens, it's just uncomfortable. 20 years later, when you get spots.
Right, when it comes back to haunt you.
Calcium.
So my daughter's drinking lots of milk today and wearing sunscreen.
There you go. All right, we are out of time. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Round Table. Thank you, Patty, for coming in today.
Thank you.
And Steve Davis, and I'm Matt West, and stay tuned for another edition right here on JCTV.